Senator Rand Paul now. Senator Paul, always great to have you with us. All right, you've heard Speaker Boehner, you've heard Nancy Pelosi, you've heard Harry Reid. Harry Reid just said very clearly, listen, they're not negotiating. Here, John Boehner say no one's negotiating. So they appear to agree on one thing, that no one's negotiating. But Harry Reid then said the Democrats are locked in tight on Obamacare. They're not going to put it on the table. So what do you say?
You know, I think one of the interesting things is I hear from the American people all the time, why don't you guys compromise? But I would think you would have to negotiate, which to me means discussing your differences and trying to get in the middle between the two. So we've been offering some compromises, and I think that's what the American people want. We started out with a position that we don't want any Obamacare. That is what we truly believe. We think it's bad for the country. The president wants all of it, 100%. I would think a compromise would be both sides come off of their position some. And I can't understand why a compromise or negotiation would be bad.
What about what Harry Reid said when he said, look, that you all are asking for a short-term continuing resolution, which, of course, is what the Republicans have asked for. And he's saying, look, I thought you cared about long-term fiscal responsibility. I mean, he had a point there. And then Nancy Pelosi said, look, they have agreed to something they do not want to agree to, which is a spending cap of $988 billion, something that you've been dying to get them to do. They're giving you that. Why isn't that enough? I mean, it does seem like Obamacare is a bit of an obsession.
Well, here's the problem, Aaron. This is why government's so messed up. People are like, why is government going to shut down? It's going to shut down, or it did shut down, precisely for one reason. We're not doing appropriations bills. We have 12 appropriations bills. Had Harry Reid done his job, brought them to the floor and passed them, there wouldn't be any government to shut down. That's historically the way it worked. When we had differences between the House and the Senate, we went to conference committee. See, they're defying what the normal history of compromise is up here. Their intransigence really is keeping the government shut down. We're offering today to fund more of the government. And do you realize that 85% of government's running right now? Only 15% of government spending is shut down, and we're trying to actually encourage the passage of more of the spending, and they're vetoing any more spending bills to try to open up government. We're trying to open up government as they're saying we won't negotiate. I really think that's an untenable position.
One thing I have to ask you, Senator, is so you just raised an amazing point, right? If only 15% of the government is shut down, and yet this is a national fixation now, this whole conversation, right? In a sense, it seems to me you have a lot of leverage. You've created a situation where the problem is only 15%, but people perceive it to be closer to 100. And now you can get them to give you spending cuts and spending caps and all these things that you've wanted. Why wouldn't you take those? Why put your entire heart, soul, reputation, and next seat in office on Obamacare?
Well, you have to realize that the numbers that Nancy Pelosi was talking about are all above the sequester. There are no numbers even equal to the sequester. They're above the sequester. So we're not getting any great spending reduction out of this. I probably can't vote for a continuing resolution that's above the sequester because it's one of the better things we've done in the last couple of years to control spending. But this is a big debate, and it's a debate not about us obsessed with one thing. It's a big debate over Congress has the power of the purse. Congress is supposed to have oversight, and when a program's not going to work or it spends too much money here or there, that's what Congress is for. You have a separation of powers. And when we have divided government, it means we have to get together and negotiate. The fact that they won't negotiate, I think, really is untenable, and I think they're going to have to eventually talk to us.
Peter King was on this show last night, and he blamed all of this on one person, a person that you've been very closely affiliated with. That person, of course, is Ted Cruz. And I wanted to play for you, Senator, what Peter King said about Senator Cruz.
The Republicans have to be more responsible. We have this wing of 30 or 40 or 50 people who are driving us over a cliff that has to end. We have to stop listening to Ted Cruz.
What do you say to that? I mean, there are a lot of Republicans who say that what this core group, a minority group in your party, is doing is destroying your party. Peter King is one of them, but he is certainly not alone.
Yeah. I think it's unfair, actually, because I think the one thing, actually, that we're very unified on, and you've seen, not everybody agreed on the tactics of how the fight went along. I think I can admit that. Everybody admits that. However, on Obamacare, we're absolutely united. The Republican Senate caucus is absolutely united. We shouldn't fund it. It's bad for America. And America's going to really find this out over the next year or two. It's a disaster for us. I think we're united in the House. But we're also willing to compromise, and that's what the American people need to know. We've been giving and giving and giving, and the president's saying, my way or the highway, and I don't think that's what the American people want.
What if it is such a disaster, though? Don't you gain the most by letting it happen and letting it be a disaster? Because